Okay, all systems go. And how's everyone doing? Fine, of course, thank you. And those that may not be doing fine, you will be doing fine in the very near future. That is for sure. So it's been a while since I've been on here. Of course, keep so busy, and Femke and I, not only with, let's say, posting some information and collaborating with ones and assisting individuals, doing geographical and also remote energy work, always divine, and we tend to keep divinely busy from the time that we get up until more or less we go to bed at night. So you can say we are fully dedicated to the Ascension mission, if you will. And having said this, Femke and I have been together doing the divine mission for approximately, just over 2 years, yes, now. So, and during the course of that time, we have met many and, of course, did many things that are in alignment with the Ascension and the mission. So again, the Ascension being not only the individual ascension, but also the planetary ascension. And, this is what it's all for. It's not an individual ascension. For if it was, most of us would not even be here. We would have already ascended, if you will. But the reason that we have not is because it is a planetary ascension for humanity, to quickly evolve humanity forward and to create the quantum shift in consciousness, if you wish to use that word. However, a higher shift in consciousness. And this is what we are facilitating, Femke and I and millions others like us and like you. We all contribute and play a divine role in this overall ascension and taking humanity forward. So no role that one plays is too small. It all contributes to the whole. And of course there should be no judgment upon any divine one with this overall ascension, and however they assist ones or whatever they may do, with the different healings, the guidance. It all plays an important role for sure at taking us all forward. So at this time I will check the speed of the feed. And hi, Allison, from New Brunswick, I believe, NB. And can I have an update on the feed, please, how that is going? Thank you. And hi, Lorraine, from Scotland. Much love to you as well. And mentioning Scotland, some beautiful advanced divine masculine will be in the very near future doing some important energetic work up in that area. And they had just completed very important divine energetic work in Ireland as well, adding and transferring codes and doing multiple activations in energetic preparation for this time and for the ascension overall. So again, and with the group of divine masculine doing that, it's a selfless mission. It's not for ourselves, it's not for themselves, it's for the overall ascension in all of humanity. And it is important that when one gets divinely called to do these energetic activations and work, that it is done. It all plays a very definite and important role in the overall ascension. And early in the ascension, for the most part, everyone is taught that everything is energy and frequency and vibration, which is absolutely correct. So whereas everything is energy, vibration, and frequency, also you as an empathic being is also the same. And also with your interactions with these energetics overall, and it is important. And the reason I needed to state this again, where everything is energy, and as we transcend the levels of frequency, the energy changes, but also does reality the further that we raise in frequency and vibration. And each one does their part as being an empath at transmuting this energy and turning it into the positive, to keep it simple. So there is an important role to play, and of course, not only do you contend with being more sensitive, more empathic, to feel the energy so that you know what you're working with, not only do you need to contend with that, there is constantly upgrades that is delivered, if you will, to the surface via the sun. And these upgrades are felt within the body, and it's to activate, and it's in total resonance with transitioning these vessels as well to acclimatize, to be able to exist and sustain an existence in a higher frequency that is above the lower density carbon-based organisms, if you will. So it is important, and it is all connected. And many will have ascension symptoms, and these symptoms will and can mimic every disease known to man. But very quickly ones will find when they begin on their journey, when they become, let's say, ill in the early days of the crystalline process, they may frequently go to doctors, and they'll find there's nothing wrong with them. And this is one of the reasons why, because there is not anything medically wrong. What is causing these discomforts for the ones ascending, it is the displacement, if you will, of the denser energy with negative energy, you can say, within the body, and it's a purification of that energy, both in your energetic field and also your biological body, your organic body. So it is transitioning to the higher crystalline based, a higher state. And this is a true fact, and I know that there's perhaps some of you here that can attest to that process. So it is not delusional thinking, it is not fantasy, it is real, very real. And we know that, and all of you that are at least somewheres in that process to know that it's true. We are also the peers in this respect to assist others that are just beginning that process and begin to awaken, and they become confused with, they don't know what's going on. And when all of us, when we meet these ones divinely, we come in and give them the information, and then this lessens their confusion, and then they're able to more readily see what's occurring and very quickly do the things that resonate with their rapid organic body transitioning. So it is very important. So hello everyone, I'm going right forward. It may freeze up a little bit depending on where you're at, but overall it's looking good. And hello everyone that is on there. At this point, I'll begin to start taking some questions if anyone wishes to put them up about, currently where we're at in the Ascension and even how the timelines, if you will, affect the Ascension. For the most part, there are two prominent timelines that we are dealing with, which are actually energetic states, but they are also a reality. And for the most part, we wish to say all of you are experiencing duality. You are at least a 5-dimensional state material with what you are, but you're here also in a 4th dimensional state. So you got one leg in each energetic state. And that is because we're here to continuously lift the human souls off of that 4th density state up into the 5th density state, and hence their freedom and their liberation from the old negative, the old darkness that no longer serves. So it is important that, at least for now, until the Ascension mission is completed, that you're able to exist in more than one dimensional state. In this case, the 4th dimensional state and the 5th dimensional state. And of course, there are others, what we use the labels, other dimensional states up above that, which ones also do access to receive information and instruction when it's time to integrate it into the collective consciousness in the lower dimension, mostly the 4th dimension. There is per se, I do not use the term 3D any longer, or 3rd dimension, for that 3rd dimension in November the 18th to the 23rd in 2012, the 3rd dimensional state actually disappeared at that time, and everyone was, let's say, transported to the 4th state of being. And this occurred because you were contending with a darkness, if you will, that was using a 4th dimensional magic, to keep it simple. And for the human souls to advance out of that darkness and to not be overpowered, the human souls were put up to the level playing field with that, to finish, if you will, the energetic advancement into the 5D. So if humanity was never put up into the 4th dimensional space where the darkness was accessing to keep the control, if that never occurred, you would not be having this planetary ascension at this time. So humanity's brought up here, they're finishing up their crystalline process of those that are going forward with their multidimensionality, and those that are remaining on the 5D first echelon of the 5D experience will just stay behind. Not really stay behind, they're going ahead of the darkness, but they have their lives and, if you wish to say, soul contracts to play out. But it's in the heaven on earth scenario where the darkness is no longer there, the negativity, if you will. So that's what's occurring a bit with that. So, and you're all welcome, and thank you to all of you joining. So I'm just looking to see if there's any questions here. I see one from Christina Burton. Christina asks, "Hi Rick, do you know the truth about the moon? I've heard so much it's not real. It's on a track." What I wish to say with that, Christina, is that the moon is real and it is a sphere. And, there's many narratives that are out there. Each can believe what they wish. But when you really look at it, at this point in the ascension and we're going forward, does it really matter what the moon is? In the least, it's a beautiful sight when you look at her, and you also can see how the moon, the 28-day cycle, is also synchronized with the important divine feminine cycle. And you could also say it's an egg of Gaia, the sentient being, the planet, our planet Earth, if you will. So, it has good things. So what I suggest for ones is don't focus on a lot of the beliefs and stories that are out there if they don't advance you forward and empower you. And, that's what this ascension is about. And you don't wish to get sidetracked and lost in trying to prove something that really has no relevance with you going forward. So it's great to just keep in line with the common goal of going forward overall and also as the individual. And the common goal is to integrate and practice fully your divine virtues, which is a little bit different than what you may read in some of the religions and writings about what virtues are. To be fully divine, you wish to have no harm against any others. Virtue should not include that. No lying, to keep things simple, and practice what you know. It's written in your heart. You know what's morally and ethically correct. And those are your divine virtues that carry you forward. And to practice them, see, you're also breaking from the old conditioning where perhaps, with one that was, let's say, severely suppressed, they had to become a thief, if you will, to steal just to eat. So that's all coming undone now, meaning that these are not virtuous things any longer to do. So one transitions and takes the old ways and replaces these with the higher virtuous ways. And upon doing that, incrementally, one gets the confirmations to know at least the supernatural, if you will, is real, and that God is real, and that there's actually a divine force that supports ones when they make the right virtuous choices. And many I know can attest to that as well. So that was quite a ramble on that. I'll have a look and see what other questions are here. Allison says, "We are not seeing much sun. Does that make a difference on the energies?" Well, the answer to that is yes, it does make a difference on the energies you are receiving. However, it's best to look at everything as it's divinely assured to a degree, that you don't get overexposure to the energies and what have you. And there's different applications of energies in different areas, geographical areas. So by not seeing, let's say, the sun, it doesn't mean that there's any nefarious force that is doing something to keep you from it, because overall divine is omnipotent, and it is divinely guaranteed and assured with this ascension that everyone receives all of the benefits they're supposed to receive at any given time. So there, you can say with the clouds, it's a form of regulation that is divinely administered and watched as well. So, and also I need to just say in there is the benevolent ET galactic connection here as well, which is assisting with this overall ascension. And for the most part, the awakened community knows that. And having said that, also many that are not awakened have the belief, at least in UFOs. So it's pretty well a majority given that extraterrestrials exist, and they do. And they are all benevolent, what is here now assisting with the ascension. Kev Strong says, hi Rick, on a frequency scale, how close would you say we are to being elevated out of the lower timeline, 4D level permanently? What I say right from this moment, where we're at here right now, I need to say I feel to be out of it permanently. It may take several months yet. It may take 5 or 6 months. However, there are what you could call divine wild cards that if they come into play, they can change things very quickly and very instantly. And having said that, what most of you know, what we call the divine plan we have here for humanity, once there is a big enough voice with that, that is a divine energetics which very quickly takes us higher as well. So with any huge uptick in that, any of you that's watching the numbers with it, any huge uptick in that is also very indicative of a upward timeline shift and an upward shift in the consciousness, because they are directly tied together with this overall ascension. So if you see in the numbers with GPMS a huge opening where ones are getting it and seeing it and are choosing it and are voting it, then you know we're very near to the end of the old 4D and the full freedom for humanity and mission accomplished, if you will. So there are variables, and I don't have a set time on it other than looking at our confirmations and indicators daily. For example, you look at Europe today, these are divine signs. When you're able to, in Denmark, here in Netherlands, and the UK, capture a halo or several around the sun. Of course, the scientists, will say these are ice particles or what have you, but it is more than that. And these are the signs that we recognize and look at as indicators. But we don't look at just one indicator like halos today. For example, we look at many other things, what are occurring through the day, the synchronicities that are also indicative of a higher timeline shift and a higher reality as well. And also, as you can see with the central sun, with the sun, it is constantly, and just yesterday, providing amazing uplifting light energy which empowers one for the most part. Now, I need to say some may not be empowered by that, and it's because there are so many levels now of ones in the process of advancing forward. So not all get affected the same by the sun emissions. You know, if we look several years ago, there was 3 prominent waves that then you could pretty well say that how each wave would be affected. But now there are so many different levels of the process of the ascension that it can vary. One individual may be floating around, dancing so high, while another with the same energy at the same time could be knocked out, you know, meaning they had to go and lay down, that there was upgrades coming in with the energy for them. So it can be all over the board now, and it is for those reasons. And Hector says he's an Easter lily. How's his ascension going? Well, you know, perhaps you can tell us, Hector, with it. Overall, the ascension is guaranteed. It's going fine, and each one's individual experience, you know, is there's commonalities, but there's also the uniqueness with it. But, you know, where ones are aware that there's an ascension going on, you are ascending. And, you know, the same as with the twin flame concept. Once that comes into your awareness, that means, yes, you have a divine consort, a divine partner, you know, here upon the planet, or that will join you in the very near future. So we're always going forward. And, you know, when you look at, if you look from a human logic consciousness at the world, you may see, you know, despair and dismay. But when you look at the other side of the higher consciousness and the divine ones and what we're doing for humanity, you see more than a hope. You see the reality where we're going towards. So you know this old is not going to last much longer. It's just when the ones awake enough that they're no longer supporting that old matrix, and that they're in alignment with supporting the new world in the new reality, then this is what gets created very quickly. So we're in that process of them awakening and getting in alignment with what we're doing with the GPMS. That is the Ascension vehicle as well, that takes all to the 5th state of being, and others with your multi-dimensional abilities carry on from there. So everything is absolute, and it is divinely planned, and each soul, if you will go back to each soul has their contract, which is their role to play in whatever they're doing. And also, for the first time ever, as a result of this planetary ascension, the soul, each individual soul has the ability to change your soul contract. And with that, when you do that, let's say if you wish to, you decide, okay, enough of the matrix, I'm going into full divine service, and I know the ascension is occurring to assist with that. When the soul makes that choice, when you're awake and make that decision in your awakened state, then more so your timelines began to align to create that as well, and everything in your life begins to change. You know, your friends that you had before, they'll go, even the family, and At times everyone knows the process, but these things are only temporary, and the temporary separation from family members, or from most family members, that's normal because you're going through an important process. But it doesn't mean that they remain separated, that, if they're human souls that are ascending as well, the same things begin to happen to them when it's time. And that's happening more rapidly now as we go forward with the huge numbers that are awakening further upon the planet. And during the course of this awakening, there's many narratives that are out there to test and try ones, if you will, that, some of them narratives have been nefariously constructed, to serve part of an old agenda, but nevertheless, the beauty of it is that they all destruct. So you have, let's say, many good souls that were part of the false narratives, but what occurs is the false narrative destructs, and as the overall consciousness state raises in humanity, in the collective, then they're able to see the false narratives more easily. They become more obvious how they don't work, and then these ones become aligned with the one straightforward timeline. And this is all divinely assured as well. So you're seeing these rapidly destruct, even though many of them appeared they had good intentions for humanity. Let's say the infiltration over the years, like, Swisindo and Nasara Jasara, these sort of things, as many are coming to realize that it's dangling the carrot, if you will, and on the stick in front of the nose, and they're realizing now the truth of these. But these false narratives have to destruct, and that is currently happening to create the unity of humanity, because there were so many false narratives out there that kept groups and ones separated. We are in the time of unity, where they all must come together, and it's divinely assured that they do. And having said that, we are seeing this happening concurrently as well. And the overall overview of the Ascension, and being an overseer of the Ascension, the information and the indicators of this, I am always within them and watching them as the gauge on, in the least, what do we do next, and where do we put our focus at on assisting humanity forward. So these indicators are seen by me most every day, and they are the gauges that we look at, and to have the overall construction. But again, with this planetary ascension, the logical, well, not the logical, I'd say the human choice is involved. It plays such a role in this, to bring, if you will, the heaven on earth scenario. It takes the choice by the souls when they are ready, when they're able to, when their physical vessels are able to stay in a reality where there is the harmony and what have you, then they become aligned with this reality and they join, and this quickening is happening. And for the most part, ones that are in their heart, for example, they recognize the divine plan when they see it, and they know what it is. And having said this, there's many awakened that knew this time would come as well, and each one is informed to their own divine degree on it. So, rambling on quite a bit. I'll have a look here. Gigi asks, hi Rick, what happens to the old heart chakra in Glastonbury when the new one is in Croatia? Well, what occurs, and we can also look at Mount Shasta as a prime example, even though these areas yet are not directly as a prime chakra nodule of the planet, these areas are still energized by the individuals. And when we go into the full 5D energetic chakra and ley line system, it's all encompassing over the planet, meaning that the heart chakra will be everywhere as well. So it's an expansion. But again, one of the biggest reasons why the heart chakra was activated in the way that it was in Croatia is because of the numbers of divine souls there that were in their heart space. We needed a good springboard for this, and that was one of the most concentrated geographical strategic areas upon the planet. And of course it was also next door to the infamous Rome, if you will, where the Vatican was at. So it plays several energetic purposes and reasons to have it located there, to also take out a lot of the falsities. So, but everything is great. Ones still go there. It's still heart chakra. That is perfectly fine with it. So, I'll scroll a little bit more if that answered your question. Terry Rash says, can you explain third eye in connection with divine gifts? I've been awake since 2011, intuitive, I cannot open it. Okay, with this, Terry, on the individual soul level, when your third eye is to open, it will open. Now, having said this, with your third eye, you'll begin to receive, let's say, images is one way how you know that it's open. You'll see flashes of images is one way. But also with your conscious thought and your ability to, let's say, daydream, this is another connection to your third eye and to develop that. But you also can consciously, when it's divine time, develop this further as well. So with your divine gifts, let's say one of the things also that's regulated is you cannot have everyone psychic yet, if you will, at this moment, and everyone able to remote view and do all of these. But everyone can. This is the thing. But again, it's regulated. We are taking an unawakened humanity into the awakened stage, and it's transitionally a very rapid transition, but it's transitionally done. I use one of the hypothetical, or I use sometimes, what's the word? It doesn't matter what the word is. What I like to say sometimes is that there is over 4 million right now upon the planet that can walk on water. They can do it, but they're not divinely allowed to yet. But in the future they will be. So this is the same as with the third eye, if you will. See, because it changes so much. If you had over 4 million walking on water right now upon the planet. You're going to, let's say, perhaps create a future shock, if you will. And there are so many components to this ascension. You're dealing with all of creation, you're dealing with souls, so it's very intricate, and it's at times delicate to the human logic, but everything is all intertwined and interconnected, and it's all regulated as well from the divine script that is already written. Now, when I mention a divine script, this is what each of you has within your soul. You know what to do when you trust and follow that. You have everything within the seed of your soul. It is written in there, your role to play here. And going back to when I mentioned about you can change your soul contract, that is an added fringe benefit, if you will, of this ascension, that once you become aware that you can, then you can like jump up into a different timeline. And because of this is what also attributed it to expediting the overall ascension, where we had covered 10 years of linear time between 2020 and 2030. We actually covered it in the last 2 years as a result of soul contracts being changed and more in line with getting the ascension done. So it was a great divine present, if you will, for ones to be able to do that, and for that to be divinely honored and allowed to be placed within this divine ascension for all as an option. So Terry, you'll open it when it's time. So have no stress. That's also a key to accessing your gifts. Know that you are perfectly fine where you are at in the development with your gifts, but also know that you can practice to develop them. But don't have any stress. No one is doing any wrong. Everyone's exactly where you need to be, but you can make things happen quicker by not having any stress, any worry, which is fear-based. Because again, the full keys to your full mastery and your full empowerment is mastering the fear, not allowing any fear aspects, any insecurities, any worry. Do not allow these things to control you, to lower your vibration. And this is the mastery. So you no longer have worry. That is replaced by full trust. So what you are doing is replacing the lower density acts and reactions and replacing them with the higher ones. And for example, if you don't trust anyone and you're always thinking that someone or something's out to get you, well, once you just surrender and say, no, that's not the case, it's replaced by trust. And then what you also see occurs is that these things will vanish from your existence as well, because you have mastered the ability with your energetics that it can't come in and do this. To keep it simple without going too far into depth with that, and to keep it simple, your mastery of all of the fears is so important. So insecurities, anything that you can think of that's a fear, you wish to not let it affect you. You wish to not let it control you. You wish to become the master where it doesn't control you. It may come into your reality, but what you wish to do is just be a neutral observer to it. And if it is very close, you always keep in the highest, and then you will confirm and see to yourself how it cannot exist into your reality when you master these spheres. Because, again, to explain this, when you have fear, you negate your energetic field to that degree of fear that you have. And this will attract the likes, which are the fear and negative experiences. But once you do your purification and your mastery, when it's positive and absent of fear, fear cannot enter your space any longer, because you are positive in it. The environment is not there for it to exist in it. And overall, with this ascension, where we're going to the fifth dimensional state, this is the same. So everyone is getting purified to be able to exist in a higher vibratory state where density and disharmony no longer exists, where you have harmony, you have the love, which is the power, and the flow, and everything is great with that. It creates the heaven on earth scenario and takes you out of the present savage reality that you're in. And yes, I call this reality savage because there is no reason why 10 to 15,000 children die each day because of starvation, because of the control of money. That's absolutely preposterous, and it's very primitive and very savage. So we are taking humanity out of that, all of us together, each, and all of us play a role in it. Jeremiah asks, and hello from Canada. My question is regarding the quantum financial system. How does it relate to GPMS, and can we utilize the QFS as a payment system in the global people's monetary system? Well, with the global people's monetary system, all of the financial infrastructure is already here that can be accessed to distribute the funds so efficiently. Even without a quantum system, it can be done. And most of you, especially where you're in Canada, Jeremiah, where they use the direct deposit methods, from the government, this is a worldwide system that can be programmed in very quickly, that all of the funds are distributed. So meaning the software, the programming to do it is already here. And with the GPMS, the software is so simple because it's only a one direction flow routing system to accounts, meaning that you don't need backdoor ledgers, you don't need gateways, you don't need encrypted codes to banks and all of the complicated system that the dark had created, if you will. You don't need any of that. It's so simple. Everything is here right now to facilitate the GPMS payments. And at this point, for all that GPMS is, upon inception of that, yes, you could use the term of GPMS being the QFS as well, because once we get there, you are going to have that quantum aspect with it that is within the consciousness and within the being of each. So it is also can be called a QFS. But with GPMS, it differs from what each one of you are currently told about the QFS. For example, if I took a comparison with the QFS, you'll see security features put in there. Well, the moment you see that, that's from a fear environment. It is a fear construct. With GPMS, you don't have any of that. You need no security because there is no reason for anyone to steal. There is no reason to profit with GPMS. So QFS, what they're proposing also with that, is also, it's a primitive system to what GPMS is. And one thing else that makes the QFS primitive to GPMS is they use what they call a gold-backed currency, and I believe rainbow currencies. These sort of things, you don't with GPMS. It's the intrinsic value of the individual which is fully recognized, which is unlimited, and you're using tool as a good money. There is no profit. There is no loss with GPMS. QFS, what it's doing is it's looking that there's still corruption in the world, that there still is profit and loss, which is capitalism, which is still controlled, manipulated, and suppresses humanity, while GPMS, it is the full freedom for humanity, and that all of the people are in control of all of the equal sharing with it. So thank you for giving me the opportunity just to compare some of the reasons why nothing can compete with GPMS. Anyone that looks, it's all inclusive. It is concrete, and it is the ascension with it. This is the deliverance. See, also with this, it's very important to know that anything like what you might see about QFS, Nasara, Jasara, GCR, anything with that, when you look at it, when the control of the money, if you will, is still in the bankers and the government's hands, that's still control of the people. It's still a primitive system, whereas GPMS has none of that. So it's also important to know that GPMS cannot be controlled because it puts the value on each individual, and money is used as a full flow credit, comfort. No one ever needs to pay it back, and everyone is in instant wealth. And with the old systems, like let's say the GCR, you have humanitarian projects with certain individuals supposedly having all of this money, while many in the world still have lack. That is not also a divine plan. GPMS is divine because it takes care of every man, woman, and child, every individual. And because of this, again, nothing can compete and nothing can come to fruition because of this. If it does, it would be very, very short-lived, and nothing can compete. If you look at basic incomes, what some of the other narratives say, like QFS perhaps, Josera, what GPMS is a comfort income, meaning that it's over and above, and the income is created to give complete freedom and comfort. The other way, when it's a basic, they only give a basic because they are controlling where the money comes from the 1%. And they just like throw a bone with a basic universal income. And again, nothing can compete over here with GPMS. And this is also why the darkness, the deep state, the cabal, why they are beaten, because GPMS exists and it's supported by the people because it serves fully the people, and nothing can compete with this. So when you look at it, the people come together, create their own one currency, and eradicates poverty, if you will, worldwide instantly, and everyone is in abundance and freedom. Nothing can oppose that and cannot go against the majority of the people worldwide. And it'd be absolute nonsense for any of them to even try it. But what's more important is that, let's say a lot of you are familiar with the 99% are the people and the 1% were the elites. Well, the GPMS empowers the 99% of the people also to create their own money as a whole. By doing this, instantly it makes this 1%, if their money is no longer required nor supported by the 99%, it has no value. So all of the cabal, the elite, the deep state are beaten because of this fact that GPMS exists and that it's collecting the worldwide voice of all of the people, and it gives the platform for what everyone is voting for. So it becomes the obvious choice. So again, it eradicates the darkness because of this. To keep it short, I was rambling on. Oh, and hey, Matt from Denmark. Yeah, my comments kind of jumped up there a bit. Let me have a look. Okay, looking for any more questions here. Love to you all. And hello, Gordana from Serbia. Nice to see you on there. And Denovan, brother, amazing work you're doing for GPMS and the world and all of humanity. You and Mike today for GPMS. I'm just absolutely impressed, with putting these beautiful perspectives out. And I'm also loving it because I'm seeing more like you to step up to the plate and putting this out there and, giving the sincere truth right from the heart and putting it there so simple for anyone to see the importance of this time and what we're doing. So excellent work. I love you all. Kaya Carlisle. No, Kim. Okay. Yeah. Kim. Yeah, I will put you back on the team. Send me a message to remind me back on the divine tasking team. And so what we have on Facebook is the divine tasking group, where we have, if you will, select individuals that have at least completed 77% of their mastery over the fear to come in there. And one of the reasons why that is a request, if you will, but a condition, is because we, in that group, at times we work on very important co-creator exercises and things that we do. And what you don't wish to have is ones that have not completed a certain level of mastery coming in there, because what occurs if they still have a lot of fear element within them, it would contaminate the energetics of the creation we're making, meaning it could cause chaotic things because you're introducing energetic fear into it. So we keep it, for the most part, we need to keep it in aligned with creation and have it not very little fear into it when we do these exercises. And the way that energetics work, because we're also working at transitioning a fear-based reality forward, you still need that little bit of negativity within you. If you didn't, you would not be able to integrate into the fear part of the reality that we're working with to transcend it, to ascend it higher. So this is the same with your empathic abilities within all of you. Every one of us, all of you, all of us, I included, we still have a bit of negativity within us that needs to be there as a as a magnet, if you will, for the transmuting that we must do for the collective, but also it has to be there, that little bit of negativity, that density, to keep us in this reality. If we did not have that, and if we did not have the empathic ability at being able to feel the density, we would not be able to exist in this reality. So it's important to know also why that is and how it works. Now, however, all of the time during the course of your mastery, you keep mastering the negativity and fear within you, but you get to a certain level that, at least at this time, you have hit a ceiling that it's regulated divinely, that you cannot go further, and that's for divine reasons, because we can't have all of you just ascending. It's not about the individual, it's about the planetary ascension. So you are kept here divinely with that, and at the soul level, you agreed to that. So we're forever strengthening and going forward, and time, linear time, is speeding up as a result of the Great Awakening with this. So it's perfectly normal if you have a bit of a negativity or a small fear within you. It's still there now for a divine purpose. As I said, you could look at it as a grounding agent, as one of the ways to look at it, to understand it. But it's not an obstacle, it's not a hindrance, meaning that when it's time for it to go, it will go. So at least if you've completed most of your mastery, and some little negative thing will come back in you, and you don't know where it come from because you've done that, well, it's kept in there because it's still a small grounding thing that needs to be there. So don't feel that you're doing something wrong or that you haven't done all of your mastery. It has to be there, at least for now, this little thing. So to take any stress off of anyone that may be thinking they're doing something wrong. But if you think you are doing something wrong and you keep thinking that, what you are also doing is you can hinder yourselves. So the trick is to know that you're not doing any wrong and that you're just open and surrendering to the path, and you will find you will navigate much quicker. You'll propel forward into your self-empowerment, and you will amaze yourself with your divine abilities and your divine experiences. That is true. And it's mostly organic tobacco, what I smoke, and that's for a divine reason, yet it's part of my grounding, part of my operating upon the planet. And anyone smoking, keep it as clean as you can, is what I suggest, organic. Hector asks, what's the point of Lake Tahoe in this? And that's Lake Tahoe, I believe it's California, or in that area of the U.S. Says you've been planted there for 30 years, grounding and grounding. Well, it's the geographical location, but what you'll find, Hector, is all around the planet, divine ones have been strategically, geographically placed to do all of this divine work. But what occurs unbeknownst to the individual, that many others are also doing the same divine work, and they're placed there to do energetic work. In the least, if you will. So, also meaning that any place can be so important. So it doesn't mean you need to be on a root chakra place. That it doesn't mean that you need to be, near Uluru in Australia. It's where you're at, which is important. It's divine. And, having said that, everyone has an energetic portal where they're at. There's so many important energetic areas, perhaps, I'd like to say uncountable at this time, all around the planet, energetic spots. And there's always adjustments and tweaking going up with the energetics. And if you envisioned the ley lines, which are responsible for reality, many are placed along those for divine reasons. And there are many divine tasks that ones do that they are oblivious to what they're doing, but your presence in areas at times, it makes a difference. It changes reality, it changes the energetics. So you're always doing something, and it doesn't matter where you're at, you are contributing to the overall ascension. Karen Gower asks, she says, do you have any understanding of why some beings that are in higher densities than we, there are none, are negative beings doing negative things in higher dimensions? No, in the higher dimensions, the fifth dimension where we're going, there are no negative beings doing this. If someone is saying this to you, it's a trick, it's a tactic in an attempt to overpower you or others to keep control over you. There are no nefarious beings beyond this fourth dimension. And that's where all of the density and the nefarious ones that were, if you will, they're quarantined to the fourth density. Once you leave this density of negativity, as I explained, when all of humanity is in the first echelon of the fifth dimensional state of being, where the fear does not exist, if you will. They are above it. There is no more density, no negative beings. So, and thank you for bringing this up, because ones need to also know this, that do not fall for these disempowering narratives that ones try to make you believe that there's something more above you that's more powerful than you in a higher dimension, because that is not truth, and it's a trick to keep you disempowered. So be wise to these sort of things. Thank you. That's a very good questions, Karen Gower. Thank you for bringing this up so I could shed the light onto that. And again, we're not about any of the disempowering fear narratives, because that's what keeps one from ascending, as I mentioned earlier. So you are, as human souls, and especially with this ascension, you are omnipotent. Nothing can stop you. And having said this, we had a meeting last night with several beautiful Ireland divine ones. And on there, it's stated again, no one, you can't be killed. You cannot be eradicated from this plane. The divine ones are here to do important divine work, and I speak to many all around the planet, if you will. And there's many divine ones that can attest that they cannot be killed, and against, let's say, all odds, and miraculously they find they cannot, and they can attest to this, that there's a divine reason for it. And that's because we're here to do a divine mission at ascending humanity, and it's divinely guaranteed that that occurs. So do not get caught up in any disempowering narratives that that could make you think that something's more powerful than you, because that's not the truth. If you're a human soul, you are omnipotent. Yes, anyone can share this live. Anything I write, everything is free. No one needs to ask any permission. You just, if it benefits you or others, just go and share. There is no restrictions on what I deliver for humanity. Okay, just going to look for a few more questions and we'll wrap this one up. Kev Strong has another great question. He says, are the world tensions part of the planet Ascension or a part of the lower timelines? It's part of both, and the tensions is to divinely, let's say, instigate ones to awaken. So they serve this divine purpose of the lower timeline. And this tension is also there to awaken ones. Once they've had enough, for example, with all the protesters worldwide protesting against, millions of protesters protesting against one in governments to give them their rights, and with little success, these things are there that the people then know there's got to be another solution, and then they become aligned with what we're doing and also with the Ascension. So it works hand in hand. So we have the lower timeline with the tensions, then we have the higher timeline. So as one's uplift in consciousness and realize that it's ridiculous to fight, that the answer is to unite, then they raise up in here. So the tensions do play a purpose with the overall ascension. Sue Velasek Negley says, where can I find out more about mastery? With that, there's many teachers out there, and there's so many that I could not say what is out there. But what I do say is to trust yourself, to put that request out where you can find more mastery, and then follow any divine prompts or guidance you get. But also it may just come into your awareness dependent upon your level of mastery and trust already. So the more you trust and the more you believe in your divine self and your connection to Creator, the more quickly things will come to you. I have the Real Angels group that I believe things about divine gifts and, information about divine gifts, and somewhat some of the mastery is written there. We also have a website where some of the teachings, what I have about mastery, is also on. It's awakeningjournals.com. So you can find that there. Also on this timeline on Facebook and through the lives and videos I do, that it's a mixture. From time to time I will speak about different parts of the mastery, and I will also write about it. So there's much, it should be at this point, much written material and video material out there about the mastery to assist you with that. Mary Coleman, do you know about medbeds? Yes, medbeds are real. They do have, it's looking like that publicly some more of them to higher degrees may be beginning to be accessed. But let me say, for the most part, the technology is widespread. It was on the planet for many decades, and it was utilized, let's say, by the ill intent. So with this rapid transitioning forward with the Ascension, there is the ownership and the release of this technology comes into the people's hands with this. And also there is another technological component that also is delivered as we go forward. If we use Tesla as an example, and if we use the German scientists as well in 1933, what you will find is that there was delivered to the planet's surface information and also technology to advance humanity. So having said that, between then and now, it was suppressed and let's say stolen, but in this great time of deliverance, there is just so much amazing technology and healing modalities, and healing technology is what I should say as well. So there are many good things coming, but again, it's about the people choosing to unite together and transition the power upon the planet from the 1% to the 99%. And this releases all things for humanity and much more. Coltart Brothers says, from Canada, what can you tell us about the octahedras that protect us through the transition? What I wish to say with that term is very rare to I, and I don't generally use it in what I share and what I express. Having said this, there are so many terms and descriptions that have come up over time, some developed, some channeled, that there is just so many that there are times that I don't consciously know what it is or what you're referring to. So with that one, I don't readily know what it is consciously at this time. But you do have in there protect you through transition. Everyone is protected by not trying to. Your greatest protection is knowing that you don't need to protect yourself. And by having that full state of trust, you are protected as a result of doing it, is what I say. And what I suggest for anyone, the moment that you think you need to protect yourself, that is coming from a fear. It is fear-based that you think you need to do that. It is coming from a lack of trust. For when you have full trust and know divinely what you are, you do not need to protect, because you are always protected as a result of having the full trust in the divine plan and in your role to play upon the planet and with this ascension. Okay, so any final questions? I got here pretty well to the bottom, and we'll wrap this up. It's been a beautiful show. We've covered a lot of material, I feel and believe and know, and the questions were great with it. And so overall, it's about empowering each other. Any tips that you may learn from this or that may resonate and that they work, share them freely with others, because we're all about unity and empowering everyone so we get this ascension done, meaning that the ascension does not have an exact linear time, that the more that we contribute divinely to it, the shorter it makes it. And I know most of you could say you're tired of the ascension. Well, you got to be proactive as well and follow the divine prompts and signs to take divine action. Then you shorten up the duration of this savage reality here, so we ascend it all together. So each one of you, it's each one's choice, but also you're given a choice to act or not. And of course, when we see everyone acting divinely and or proactive divinely, it does make the difference, and it does shorten the duration of this mission. So each one of you has a piece of information that assists with the overall ascension. This is also why it's so important with the unity, because when you come together, and I know many of you can attest, you increase the divine knowledge of the collective that you are all uniting with. But when you increase that knowledge, you also raise everyone that is connected with that higher, because it's about the consciousness, which is so important as well. Yes, it's about love, that is the foundation, but it's also with the consciousness to create the new reality. So you need to have the two things. You need to have your heart in the right place, if you will, and you need to have the consciousness open enough to keep moving forward. And the more that you trust the heart as your discernment and guidance feature, it begins to integrate, if you will, with the brain, and it becomes one unit. And with that, then your consciousness rapidly expands and more of your divine gifts come on as well. So you can, things aren't per se, the details of the ascension, the script is not written in stone per se, that there are things one can do that does change it a bit. But overall, the ascension, taking humanity to 5D, that is guaranteed. But the path to get there is not measured, and it's not with definite events. It's what is required also to get there. So, So this is great. So having said that, thank you all. Love and light from Femke and I, and much gratitude for the roles you are playing in this divine ascension, and keep going forward. As all of you know, you cannot go back, that it doesn't resonate. That's because you're all to keep going forward with whatever divine roles you're playing. And to know that everything truly is guaranteed. So, having said that, love and light, lots of winks, and much gratitude, and many kisses. And have an amazing morning, day, night, wherever you may be on this most beautiful world, most beautiful, sentient Terra. We got to call her Terra now because she has already ascended. Thanks to all of you. Love and light. Peace. This is peace. This is unity, togetherness. And have a great time.